Telewizja Republika wita specjalnego gościa, Stevenem Moorem, człowiek, który bardzo pomaga Ukrainie, organizuje międzynarodową pomoc i jest naszym gościem. Dzień dobry panu.
Thank you very much. It's really great to be here. Thanks for having me on.
Na naszym tle jest flaga z napisem Samoobrona Majdanu. Pojawiła się u nas w 2013 roku. Telewizja Republika wtedy zaczęła nadawanie. Byliśmy pierwszą stacją, która relacjonowała wydarzenia na Ukrainie. Tragiczne, dość niebiańska sotnia, morderstwo młodych ludzi, którzy chcieli po prostu żyć w wolnym kraju. Ale ona symbolizuje moim zdaniem taką podstawowe pragnienie w polskiej świadomości za naszą wolność i waszą, że nie ma wolności tylko dla Polski, że musi być cały region wolny i każdy naród musi być wolny, żebyśmy zapewnili swoją wolność. No i myślę, że wojna na Ukrainie potwierdza dokładnie to.
Well, I think that saying is very powerful. And I wish we'd said it in my country. I love it. It's great. What has been amazing to me in the short time I've been in Poland is the degree to which the Polish people have taken in hundreds of thousands, if not millions, of Ukrainians, and the graciousness and the hospitality with which they've brought them in. You know, at this point, we're 4 months in, and you would think there would be more friction between these two large groups of people, but I haven't seen it, and I haven't talked to anybody that's seen it. So I think that's a testament to the Polish ethos that you're discussing.
Ja myślę, że to wsparcie dla Ukrainy bierze się stąd, że my w Polsce rozumiemy, że to jest sprawa egzystencjalna. Być albo nie być dla Ukrainy. Być albo nie być dla tych, którzy uważają się Ukraińcami i być albo nie być dla kultury ukraińskiej. No bo przecież Rosjanie palą tam książki, niszczą symbole kultury, kradną wszystko, co się da, po to, żeby zetrzeć z pamięci świata, no właśnie, pojęcie Ukrainy.
Yeah. Well, you know, I came to Ukraine on day 5 of the war. And there's many reasons I did it. I have a lot of Ukrainian friends, but also I think this is the beginning of World War III, and if we don't stop it in Ukraine, it gets really, really dark and ugly for the world. And so I just thought this is the biggest thing to happen in my lifetime, and I want to be a part of helping to stop it, helping make the world better.
To proszę nam powiedzieć, jak pan organizuje tą pomoc dla Ukrainy, która w pewnym stopniu przepływa przez pana ręce.
Yeah, good question. Thanks for asking. So what we do, initially I came over because I have a lot of Ukrainian friends, and whenever Kyiv started getting bombed, my friends needed help. And Ukraine is my 5th war zone now, as I'm a civilian in all these war zones. And so I was in Iraq for 2 years, which really prepared me for this experience. So initially I came over to help my friends. And then as I saw needs, as I saw that there was gaps that were not being filled by governments or NGOs, you know, I worked to try to fill those gaps.
Tak jak pan powiedział, trafił pan na Ukrainę w 5. dniu od rozpoczęcia wojny. Wszyscy wtedy uciekali. Pan pojechał w stronę tego konfliktu i dostrzegł pan braki. To jak pan te braki znajdował i jak pan identyfikował potrzeby, które może pan albo pana organizacja zapełnić?
Well, after about 3 weeks, all my friends had gotten to safety, so I could have declared victory and said, my friends are safe, and I'm going to go home. And, you know.
Mission accomplished.
Yeah, exactly. Mission accomplished. And, but then I saw that I think one of the crucial things that happened was I got a call from a friend of a friend in a place called Bilogorodka, which is just near Irpin and Bucha. And of course, there's terrible, terrible things going on in those cities. And this hospital, this regional hospital, was taking wounded from these places. And he said, we need medicine. And I said, what about the Red Cross? He said, we have not seen the Red Cross. So I went to Romania. I filled up a van full of medical supplies and drugs and drove it to Bilogorodka. And went there and talked to the doctors, and it was just horrific. So, so that was what made me realize that there was gaps that needed to be filled, and I could potentially fill them.
Rozumiem, że wtedy chciał pan zorganizować pomoc i stało się tak, że pana przyjaciele, znajomi, ci, którzy chcą wesprzeć fundatorzy w Stanach Zjednoczonych, przesyłają pieniądze, pan kupuje tutaj rzeczy i wysyła je tam, gdzie powinny dotrzeć i gdzie na nie czekają.
Yeah. So I started an organization, the Ukraine Freedom Project. That's ukrainefreedomproject.org for anyone that wants to check it out. And you know, this comes down to I have a lot of friends in Ukraine, so when I'm trying to help and I need help, then I've got this network that I can call upon. And in the same way, I have a network of very good friends in the United States who are, I worked on Capitol Hill for about 7.5 years. So I have a lot of friends who are well positioned. And so I think that I'm able to get things done that an ordinary aid worker may not be able to get done. And so that's an exciting feeling to have.
Dlaczego może pan zrobić rzeczy, których nie może zrobić zwykła organizacja udzielająca pomocy?
I was a chief of staff to a member of Congress for about 7.5 years. He was part of leadership. And so when there's a stumbling block that may cause a problem for most aid workers, you know, then I can perhaps call someone that can help us get through that. Also, you know, I think in comparison to some of the larger NGOs, ours is smaller, it's nimble, it can move quickly, it can change quickly. I mean, our priorities have changed at least 3 times during this war. Initially, we were getting people out of the conflict zones, out of the hot zones, and then next we were trying to set up help for internally displaced persons, and we recognized that was not a good use of time and resources. So now we've moved to getting humanitarian aid into places like Kharkiv, Chernihiv, Poltava, and some of the places that are experience the Russian war crimes in a big way.
Kiedyś polityka no to były jakieś tam rytualne zagrożenia, jakieś wieloletnie procesy, a teraz polityką jest strzelanie do ludzi, jest stworzenie sztucznego głodu na świecie, wstrzymanie transportu zasobów żywności. No ten świat się strasznie zmienił.
Yeah, and the politics in the United States is similar. That, you know, what has taken Ukraine off of the front page of the newspaper is just horrible school shootings where a dozen children be killed. But, you know, the Russians have kidnapped, you know, a couple of 100,000 Ukrainian kids. So the horrors are similar. The scale is completely different. And so it's a matter of I think, communicating to the American people just the vast scale of the horror that's happening here.
Yeah, but what I'm trying to say is that what we see now in Europe, in the Western world, should change our perspective on the civilization as we see it. Like, we've been grown up in the world when peace is for granted, right? Where our freedoms, liberties are for granted. Well, we fight for more freedoms, right? For some more or less imaginary targets. But now you can see that the freedom is that you can go to buy your groceries and nobody will shoot you.
Yeah. Well, and I agree, and I think that the world is going to change dramatically in the next few years. And I've seen Polish borders that have changed over the course of World War II, and I saw that in the Warsaw Uprising Museum. And I think, you know, perhaps there's something similar going to happen with the aftermath of this war. It's hard to say, but you know, freedom. We have a saying in the United States: freedom is not free. But people today think it is, because we have undergone a period of unheralded peace and prosperity in the world, and that's coming to an end. And so I think that people's minds have to be recalibrated into, you know, we need to do something.
Ta cała wojna wybuchła z powodu tego, że rosyjski imperializm, który reprezentuje Putin, domagał się posłuchu. Tak? I teraz czy Zachód po tej wojnie ugnie się przed Rosją? Ukraińcy, Polacy, Amerykanie stwierdzą, no dobra, robimy tak, jak Putin każe, czy też nie? Jak pan to widzi?
Well, I think Henry Kissinger is a good example. You know, he's a brilliant man, and I have a lot of respect for him. But I think his generation of thinking is, you know, that we must appease Putin. I just don't understand it. Why? How could you say that? And I think that's something. Again, there's last generation's thinking that is being applied to this generation's war, and I think that you know, and even on the face of it, you know, you look at what Kissinger said and think Neville Chamberlain. You know, someone Google Neville Chamberlain, right? And see how that worked out. So it's just stunning to me, shocking to me.
So you are not certain if we will stay firmly behind Ukraine and appease or oppose Russia, even if they are losing their forces. But okay, they have amazing amounts of weapons, people willing to die for $100 a day or something like that, and then they would throw them to Ukraine. But eventually, after a few months, it will dry out.
Yeah, and that's the question. Is that this is going to be a long war, and does the rest of the world that doesn't have the proximity that Poland does to the crisis, do they have the attention span to make sure make sure this turns out well? Because I'll tell you this, what I have seen with the Ukrainian people is that they're the bravest, most amazing people I've seen. They are terribly under-equipped. And, you know, for instance, I talked to a soldier that fought in Bucha, and he did not have combat boots. He did not have a backpack to keep his ammunition in, but, you know, that he was part of the force that pushed the Russians out. So they won that on a shoestring. So imagine if they had night vision goggles and proper artillery and the things that, you know, the equipment that one might need to win this war. I think they're totally capable of it. It's a matter of if they get the support from the West.
Okay, will they?
Will they win? I think so. I mean, because they're incredibly motivated. They're very brave, and you've got Russian conscripts that are not supplied well either, and they've got poor leadership. I think ultimately freedom and courage wins.
Well, thank you for that. I believe it also that freedom and courage wins, and that we will win this war because we will not give up.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah.
Thank you very much. Stevenem Moorem, well, thank you very much for participating in this show.
It's great to be here.
And we'll support your work as we can.
UkraineFreedomProject.org. Come check it out.
Stevenem Moorem, bardzo dziękujemy za udział w naszym programie. No i oczywiście popieramy i wspieramy pana w szlachetnym wsparciu dla Ukrainy. Dziękuję bardzo.